So joining me in the studio right now, Ammar Campa-Najjar. He is running in the 50th district in California. Man, California has a lot of districts.
It does.
Ammar, great to have you in the studio.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So now, you've got Duncan Hunter Jr. as your incumbent. That's a disastrous candidate and incumbent to have. And then you've got a Democratic primary. So let's take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
For the good folks at home, how bad is Duncan Hunter Jr.?
Oh my God. So Duncan Hunter Jr. is the son of Duncan Hunter Sr., who was there for 30 years. So between them, 40 years of one dynasty, right? And he's pretty vulnerable. We're pretty viable. He's the guy who spent $60,000 of his campaign funds on personal use, like Versace clothing and trips to Rome and a pet rabbit, all of which would be funny if it wasn't so sad.
A pet rabbit?
A pet rabbit.
Okay.
But his mismanaging of, I think, taxpayer money is worse. He wants to spend money on that wall. He talks tough talk against North Korea. He wants us to preemptively strike them. A whole bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense, including a tax plan that he himself says is going to hurt California. Last I checked, he's the congressman from California. He should be putting California first. So.
Yeah, and the wall goes through your district.
It does, yeah.
And Trump was just down there.
He was, yeah. And actually, we had some of your guys come down, and there's about 14 miles of perimeter. There's 3 layers of wall already. And Hunter Jr. likes to tout that his father made the previous one, and it reduced apprehensions by 95%. So why are we going to spend $35 billion of American taxpayer money, not Mexico, on a wall that we don't need?
Right. So I think we're pretty clear on Duncan Hunter. So that's settled. Now you're in a Democratic primary, and some of your information about your background is really interesting, and I don't mean ethnically, although that's fun too, but about what you did, especially in the Obama administration. But we'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
So let's talk about your primary. So I'll ask you the question we ask everybody: how do we know you're the most progressive in the race?
You go to my website, and also we've gotten just the Democrats' endorsement. I run on a policy of Medicare for all, clean energy, removing all the subsidies for fossil fuels, being able to level the playing field, tuition-free college, all that stuff. And we had to kick in through the back door. The establishment did not want me. They've been fighting against me behind the scenes for some time. And despite that, we got the California Democratic Party endorsement, labor endorsements, and a whole bunch of good progressive folks getting behind our campaign.
So how do you know the establishment was not on your side?
Well, I think they poached somebody else to run against me. I think they're getting buyer's remorse with my opponent. When I first decided to run, it was a people-powered movement, a little bit different than the status quo. In fact, the volunteers who told me to run said, you know, we don't need a hunter, Duncan Hunter, we need a gatherer. It was cute. We should bring people together and pave a path towards a unified future, and it worked. And we don't have clear evidence that they have been, but a lot of unanswered phone calls and just asking, hey, let's level the playing field. We're working hard. Hunter's hardly working. We're out raising the other Democrat. We're out working him, out campaigning him on the merits. We should have their support, but it seems to be going somewhere else.
So when I first met you, you were not the favorite,
no.
And so I'm not surprised that the establishment picked a guy with like a background they thought fit the district,
right.
Which is not really true either.
No.
But like they love to typecast, etc. But then, how in the world did you win 97% of the delegates in the California Democratic Party?
Working hard and just showing up and telling people, look, I don't care about your personal politics. I care about your personal health, your personal safety and the safety of your kids, and your personal financial stability. Talking about working class issues, what keeps people up at night, what gets them going in the morning. Talking about real issues, not just about my hues and how I'm a brown guy, but my views. And in my district, surprisingly, this county, we have 5 seats, right? My seat is the only seat that actually voted for Bernie over Hillary in the primary. So there's a progressive lane there. There's an opportunity there.
I can tell you work for Obama. Not my hues, but my views.
My views, yeah. We like to rhyme in the Obama administration.
Not the hunter, but the gatherer.
People remember these things.
They do. I like it. So when I first met you, Ammar, it was also at a California Democratic gathering. And at that point, this was not the one where you got 97% of the vote. You were hustling, and like I said, you were the underdog. But I remember, one, you had incredible energy, and 2, incredible number of volunteers, and that struck me. At that point, you weren't even a Just Democrat, right? But then you just kept gathering, if you will, endorsement after endorsement.
You're starting to like it,
right? And delegate after delegate. And if you had told me when we first met, though, hey, this guy's going to get 97% of the delegates. I'd have been like, no way. He seems like an amazing guy, but he's not the establishment guy. There's no way he's going to do that. So that's amazing work. How about the volunteers? How many volunteers?
We have about 800 volunteers. We have 2 offices.
In one district.
That's right.
In one district.
And so I was the field director. Don't hold this against me, for the Obama campaign in 2012.
Okay. Yes.
And a lot of them migrated over to my campaign. They want to elect another skinny brown guy with a funny name. Someone who's more progressive, though, right? Someone who's been anti-TPP since the beginning. I was at the Department of Labor, and I saw trade adjustment assistance going up, which told me our trade policy was going in the wrong direction, and TPP was more of the same. So
yeah. Now, so that's an astounding number of volunteers in one district. How about fundraising?
So we outraised Duncan Hunter all of last year. We raised about over $500,000, but we need more because they're going to be throwing stuff at us from every single angle. So we need to tell our message and multiply it. We also outraised the other Democrat who's gotten a lot of establishment money from different people in leadership. But we've gotten some support from Congressman Luis Gutierrez and others who are kind of going down the progressive track with us. But we're out raising him, out campaigning him, and out hustling him.
So, and I can tell you again, I had no horse in that race, and I met Ammar, and I turned around, I was like, this guy's amazing, right?
Thank you.
And so I heard about your volunteers in that first meeting, et cetera. And then the fundraising, you don't take any corporate PAC money.
Not at all, not a single dime.
So all of that is just working hard, really hard to reach people, talk to them, get their support, and to raise $500,000 again in a district is amazing. So
thank you.
And we'll give you all the links for Ammar, both to donate, to volunteer, et cetera, to find out more about him. Will always be down below in the description box on YouTube, comment section on Facebook. You mentioned your hues a couple of times. So what are you?
Yeah, well, I'm an American first and foremost. I got to remind people I was born in East County, San Diego, the son of a single working class mom. My mom's Mexican, she was born here. My dad's Palestinian American. And that's where you get the Palestinian Mexican American guy.
So yeah, that would make you the one, the one in the country.
That's right.
Is there other Mexican Palestinians?
I got a brother, so he's the second one. There's a population of 2. I'm sure there are others, but aside from that, I mean, we had my mom raised me on her own through being broke and brokenhearted. I had to be a janitor at 15 and a half years old to help my mom. So everything I learned about hard work, the reason I hustle so hard, was from that woman and that job. And nothing in life is given, especially when you live in my zip code, but everything can be earned. So been just working hard.
Yeah, so like my dad, who grew up on a farm and that was incredibly hard, backbreaking work. He thought, let me go get an education because nothing's going to be as hard as working this farm.
Tell me about
it. So you work as a janitor at 15 years old. You're going to want to get out of that situation. So, and obviously you've gone on to do amazing things. So let's talk about some of that.
Sure.
So you worked in the Obama administration in a couple of different roles. But before we get to the bigger ones, my favorite was you were the guy who read the letters to pass on Obama. Because you guys remember that thing where he would read the 10 letters a day? Was it a day?
Yeah, it was 10 a day when we had a president who would read, right? So it's different times now. But he would read 10 of them. I was part of the team that the president would read 10 of them a day, and I think it helped inform his policies. And when I would read them, I would think, I'd like for him to go further on immigration, on healthcare, on these other issues. I want to put this in front of him so it stirs up his conscience. And I he didn't go as far as I'd like him to go, but I'd like to think that those letters informed his policy decisions.
So that's a really interesting role because not only do you get to put things in front of the president, now we know with this president, you've got these men of questionable ethics who put articles of Breitbart in front of him and these right-wing publications, and they get them all worked up and to do hateful things. You got to put letters in front of him from real Americans.
Totally.
So how many letters do you think you read?
Oh my gosh, I just learned to skim down the middle, which is probably what you do before you give your segments. But I would hear stories about, look, I'm an illness away from losing my home. I got to decide, do I get a gallon of gas or a gallon of milk on the way home? I had to miss my daughter's birthday to work overtime, like real gut-wrenching stuff that mattered. Like all this political theater about Stormy Downs, all that stuff, I don't even care about that. I care about the real issues because I hear it from every day, not even when I was campaigning, before that, with the Obama administration, and it really stirs up your conscience and it gets you wanting to get out there and do something.
All right, what else did you do in the Obama administration?
So then I worked at the U.S. Department of Labor, full circle, helping people like my mom get access to child care so they don't have to choose, do I take care of the kid or I go to work. and I worked on this program called Apprenticeship. I love this program. In fact, when I left the Department of Labor, on my last day there, I put a memo on my desk to President Trump. And I said, there's a program that sounds like your TV show. Just do what you always do. Put your name on it and claim credit for it, even though it's not your own. And I said, you should invest heavily on this. If we spent $1 billion a year on apprenticeship, we only spend 90 million. I know it's not sexy, but $1 billion a year, I could put 6 million people back to work in vacancies today. So instead of building a stupid wall that won't work because airplanes exist, we could spend $35 billion on putting every single person who wants a job back to work, getting paid double the median individual income, $70,000 a year.
And in fact, they could, get their jobs back maybe from the unfair trade deals that he claimed he was against during the campaign. Did you actually literally leave him a letter?
I did. I left it there. I left a memo. I said, you should do this.
You were literally a man of letters.
I do. I love letters.
Okay, one last thing. You had a business before you started running, ACN Strategies.
That's right.
And I have to confess that this description, though, does sound a little Austin Powers-ish. It's a small business that helps other small businesses.
Yeah.
So what did it actually do?
So basically, I had a public affairs firm. I did public affairs for many years, including with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, not the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They're the devil, I get that. But the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is more liberal. And when I left that place, I figured, why don't I make all of my former employers my clients? So those small businesses ended up becoming my clients, and I just did consulting work for them, whether it was getting them in the press or connecting them with their local government or doing public affairs. That's what it means, helping small businesses with my small business.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's put up the links one more time. So Campacampaign.com, there's your donation link, your volunteer link. Just click on it down below if you're watching this later. So Ammar, thank you for coming in and good luck with the race.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
But on the other hand, if we have one more Mexican-Palestinian in Congress, I don't know.
I know.
Can we deal with one more? Perhaps just one. All right, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.